Hello everyone. Today our topic is cloud computing. In particular, we are going to discuss about the very fundamentals of cloud computing and various types of cloud based on services and characteristics of cloud computing and the benefits and drawbacks of existing cloud computing models. With this, let us start the session. If you have any questions, please comment it in the dialog box so that we'll discuss, right? Our agenda is to discuss about the definition for cloud computing, cloud types, characteristics, benefits, and disadvantages of cloud systems. That will be our agenda for this video, right? Let us start with cloud computing basics, definition, and types. Okay. Cloud computing. As the name suggests, cloud computing is basically internet-based computing. Where you have to have a remote device like desktop, mobile, laptop in your home. Then all the computing intensive resources may be available at a remote location, right? Here the cloud computing is basically referred as data storage, infrastructure, and application, right? But all the computing processes will be executed at a remote location, right? So cloud computing is the uh, concatenation of numerous attempts at large-scale computing with seamless access to virtually limitless resources. Uh, you may not know how many servers are there in the remote location, how much amount of storage capacity is available, how much speed of data storage, data capacity is available. But all the resources are available to you either freely or at a paid service. So you can do whatever you want using cloud computing. Starting from simple applications like email, right, Gmail, web conferencing, online meetings, customer relationship management, all these applications are using cloud, right? These are some of the basic examples that will be used in our day-to-day life, right? So cloud computing is basically so internet-based computing, right? Internet-based computing. As the name suggests, all the required resources will be available at a remote location. All you need to have is your own client machine and internet connection, right? Internet connection in order to access all the required resources, right? So cloud computing, it's a information technology resources provided as a service. The service could be software based or hardware based. So you can do any type of computing using these cloud computing services, or if you want to store your data, documents, right? Then you can also make use of these services, databases, queues. So cloud leverages economies of scale of commodity hardware, right? So even for cheap storage, high bandwidth networks, multi-core processors, computing devices, all these hardware resources are also available in cloud environment, right? So the major players in cloud computing are Amazon, Google, and Microsoft. These three players are the major cloud computing service providers, right? With this basic introduction, let us move on to next one. Cloud computing is either small scale, large scale, or medium scale, whatever the industry you are thinking of, all the industries applications are using even a small kind of or partial kind of cloud applications for their implementation or for their maintenance, right? Starting from small scale industries, large scale industries. So you can access the cloud resources using any of the devices starting from handheld devices like mobile phones, tablets, or laptops, desktops, right? Even for IoT-enabled devices are using cloud services, right? Cloud services. So, as I said before, cloud computing components are majorly classified into three. So, you basically need these three devices. The first one is client machines or clients, right? Client machines or clients. So it could be a simple mobile phone, tab, or desktop, right? Or whatever it is, and then distributed servers, data centers, which are located at the remote location. So in order to connect these client machines to distributed servers and data centers, you need a internet connection, right? Internet connection. So clients in cloud computing are generally referring to local area networks, right? Local area networks. So it may be a single device or group of device that may be connected to the cloud environment, right? So they may be either a simple mobile or laptop or desktop, whatever it is, right? So clients have the responsibility of interaction with the cloud data centers or servers, right? So it is the responsibility of the client machines to interact with the cloud servers or data storage devices, right? The second component is data center. So data center is an array of servers, right? Array of servers which holds the subscribed application. So we'll check what is kind of data you are looking for, whether the data is available in the cloud. So this approach is basically streamlining the process of managing a huge amount of data on multiple physical servers, right? What kind of data you are looking for, whether you have the access to right to access the data. So all kind of these will be handled by the data center, right? And distributed servers. So distributed servers, uh, it will also be considered as a server, but it is located in the remote location. So it may be a single server or a group of servers, right? A pool of servers uh, to provide the services to all the clients. So if you are looking for a particular service, right, uh, the request will hit the server, right? Server, upon checking your request, server will provide the necessary uh, process requests, right? Accesses. So the next one is cloud computing architecture. So the basic fundamental architecture of cloud computing is utility oriented and internet centric. Internet centric. So whatever the services you are required, you are thinking of, you can get it on demand, right? So there are basically three types of services: IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS. So IaaS stands for Infrastructure as a Service, right? Where the required infrastructures or hardware resources will be provided to the clients, right? So, and it is your responsibility to develop the software for interaction, a final application, right, executable files. Everything will be the responsibility of the clients. The required hardwares like servers, data storage, memories, right, uh, virtual machines, management, all these things will be provided by the cloud service provider in IaaS, infrastructure as a service. Whereas in platform as a service, in addition to the hardware, right, the required platform to develop your applications, right, either Web 2.0, 1.0, 3.0, and there's necessary files, libraries, packages to develop your application will be provided using PaaS, right, or platform as a service. And SaaS, everything will be provided in the cloud environment, starting from the hardware, platform, in addition to the required uh, applications. So whatever the requirements you can say, uh, all the resources, all the required libraries, hardware, everything will be provided by the cloud service provider. So you have to compile all the uh, uh, codes, hardwares, etc., to produce your final applications, right? So that's the difference, basic difference between IAS, PAS, and SAS, right? So this is just the basic, right? We will explore in detail about these things in the later part of the sessions, right? So then comes to the types of cloud computing. We have various types of cloud computing, but in general, we'll discuss what is public cloud, private cloud, hybrid cloud, and community clouds. So public cloud, as the name suggests, computing infrastructure is hosted at the vendor's premises, right? Vendor's premises, and all the services, cloud services, will be provided at free of cost. Whereas private cloud computing is dedicated to the customer and is not shared with the other organizations. So all the uh, private cloud service providers like Amazon, right, uh, Google are example for private cloud service providers. Hybrid cloud, if you combine any two or more than two cloud services, cloud environment, then you will get hybrid clouds, right? So some organizations will keep their records partially public and partially private. So in that case, it will be classified as hybrid clouds. And community clouds, so multiple cloud service providers or vendors jointly provides resources for the purpose of a specific community, right? For the development of specific community, that is called community clouds. So if you are providing services like FM stations for education institutions or for a particular community, then it will be classified as community clouds, right? These are the major types of cloud computing. So so public cloud computing, Amazon, Google, Microsoft are the most known public cloud service providers. They're also providing private cloud services, right? So basic simple example is Gmail. Google is providing free mail services to all the customers, all the users, right? And Microsoft Power BI, Office, right? Amazon, web services. All are the simple examples of public cloud services, right? So there are no charges for using their services or cloud services, right? And it can be easily implemented and inexpensive setup, right? No resources will be wasted because uh, you may or may not pay for what you are using, right? The disadvantages is your data may be at a risk, right? So they will keep the cloud service providers will keep your data. So sometimes your data might be compromised, right? And then next one is private cloud. Private cloud is more secure and more control over your data. So you can control what kind of data will be stored in the cloud environment, right? So there are two right locations as we discussed: end user, that is client location, and then offsite data center, remote data center. So you can decide what kind of data can be stored in the cloud center, what type of data could be kept at your control, right? But at the cost of expensive, right? So you have to pay for data storage and computational processes, right? And it is very complex in implementation, right? And the classification based on service provider, as we discussed, infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, software as a service, right? So the entire complete software will be provided by the cloud service provider. So user can access software application also by the cloud vendor or on pay demand, right? On pay per use basis, right? So the cloud computing stack, see, uh, the bottom up approach, if you are starting from the bottom, IaaS will be uh, placed at the bottom, right? So the main access management tool required for IaaS is Virtual Infrastructure Manager, right? Virtual Infrastructure Manager which is used to manage all your servers, data storage devices, firewalls, load balancing devices, right? So all the hardware controls will be done by implemented by this virtual infrastructure manager, right? The next one is PAS, right? The required access tool is cloud development environment, right? All the programming languages, frameworks, massive editor, structured data will be controlled by this cloud development environment. Then finally, software as a service, web browser. So your web browser will take over all these controls. All the controls of data, storage, everything will be uh, monitored and managed by your web browsers, right? Then hybrid clouds, if you combine private cloud, public cloud, and community clouds, if you combine one or more than two or three, right, then the clouds become hybrid clouds, right, or heterogeneous clouds, right? So part of the cloud may be private and part of the clouds may be public. So that's what we will call it as hybrid clouds, right? So next one is the benefits, right? So hybrid clouds can very much reduce the cost and total cost of ownership because if you want to implement a uh, data storage, servers, right, cooling, and the load balancer manager, all these components will demand huge investment cost. So total cost of ownership can be reduced, right? And the service level improvements can be done perfectly, and you can deploy your application rapidly, right? And you can pay on demand or what are the as per your requirements, right? And community clouds, so the infrastructure is shared by several organizations. So all the major vendors like Google, Microsoft, Amazon can jointly support a specific community, right? Uh, then it becomes a community clouds. So it may be managed by multiple organizations or vendors, right? So it may be exist on premise or off premise. So community clouds is basically the cloud services provided by multiple organizations or vendors, right? And what are the desired features of a cloud, right? So desired features of a cloud, self-service, right? So without any human intervention, it should provide all the required services to the clients, right? And per usage metered and billed. So you have to pay whatever the services you have use, right, on demand, right, and bill and elastic. So elasticity. So if the number of users requests are increasing, it should be in a position to provide the services to all the customers, customizable. So if it is customizable, then user might like the services, right? And benefits of CloudSum. So here we comes the final topic of the sessions. Benefits. As we discussed, cost reduction. So pay-as-you-go models will definitely reduce the hardware, software, and resources cost required for your application deployment. Scalability and flexibility. So you can increase the number of users or decrease the users as per your requirement. And accessibility and mobility. So access data and applications from anywhere, any device, right, will facilitate. You can access your application from anywhere around the world, right? A disaster recovery and backup. So in case your client machine is failed, right, you can recover your data from the cloud backup, right? And easy management. So third parties, providers or cloud service providers can easily manage your data, storage, etc. Right? And improve collaboration, real-time access and updates on shared documents, policy updates, distributed terms. Everything will be managed the by both the users as well as the service providers, right? And you can access to advanced technology, supercomputers, right? Deep learning model based IoTs, right? With the help of cloud service providers. And the final one is disadvantages of cloud computing. See, the first thing is security and privacy concerns. So, whenever you are storing data at a remote location, there might be a chance of compromising your data, right? And strong user managed security settings are required in order to secure your data. But 100% security is definitely questionable. And internet dependency. So, internet is pretty much required for cloud computing based services, right? And loss of control because you don't have the direct control over your data. So you are relying on infrastructures like internet and cloud service providers. So you may lose access over your data in case of any malfunctions, right? And vendor lock-in. So if you are migrating from one cloud service provider to another cloud service provider, there may be a difficulties while transferring the data and potential for overspending. So if you don't have proper monitoring optimization techniques for your data and computing resources, then you might lose huge amount of money and compliance challenges. So meeting the uh, agreements between the clients and the providers can be pretty much complex and performance variability. So network latency can impact your performance application, right? So this is are the very fundamentals of cloud computing. So if you have any questions on this, please let me know. Thank you.